I'm Leo Fernandez. I handle P&C insurance, which is property and casualty insurance, homeowners, autos, businesses, liability, umbrella policies, anything that has to do with personal lines and commercial policies, I handle. Now, in the past, I've done presentations on the properties of a policy, what's covered and what the parts are for an auto and home. And in light of the storm that we had a few weeks ago, I decided to actually talk to Linda, and we agreed to do a quick presentation on what is expected of you and how a claim is handled with a storm. After a storm hits the area, damages your house, damages your car or your business. Now, most of this is geared towards your house, but a couple of things you can share with the auto policies also. I did it more because the house, because that's mostly the damage we get. Fallen trees, wind damage to the roof and stuff like that. So let's get started. So when the storm hits, what to do? Now, before even the storm hits, you need to be prepared. So you got to take any kind of practical measures to protect yourself and your property from reasonably expected perils. Now, this is in the insurance policy itself. If most of these things I'm talking about are in the policy. So what the insurance company means is that you can't, blatantly leave your property out there to be damaged, knowing the insurance company is going to cover it. You need to take some kind of practical measure. So when a storm is approaching, you see people putting boards up on the house, on the business windows and stuff like that. They want to avoid things like you taking your car down to the beach right before a hurricane, because you know it's expected to come, and most likely it's going to get damaged, and you're going to have a claim on your car. Leaving your windows wide open during a hurricane instead of putting the storm shutters down, stuff like that is unreasonable. You're expected to be reasonable regarding your property and yourself. Some companies offer you big discounts for having storm shutters, especially in Florida. You buy a house, they have the metal storm shutters, you get a big discount for that. Now, if you just don't do that, if you don't put the storm shutters up knowing that a storm is coming and your house gets damaged, the company will pay for it. You're obligated to pay for the damage to your house, but next time around, you may lose that big discount. So that's one thing you don't want to do. We just want to, minimize losses and make it easier for you to recover from a storm. Now, if something happens, you get a storm and you have a claim, you have to report a loss, and that's other words, making a claim to the insurance company. In the event of the loss, there are some steps you have to take to protect yourself and your property, and to help the insurance company settle the claim as expeditiously and accurately as practicable. So those words are right in the policies. You have to do things to make it easy for yourself and easy for the insurance company, and to protect your property from any further damage. You have to immediately call the company or your agent for the notice of the loss. Now, immediately doesn't mean within an hour or two. It's a reasonable amount of time. So if your house is damaged by a big storm or by a hurricane, you have no power, it doesn't mean you have to go out and find a phone to call your agent or your company. You have time to get things settled, take care of your property, take care of yourself, and then when everything is under control, then you call your company, and that's an immediate notice or reasonable notice. If you have any kind of theft after the fact, after the storm, you need to report it to police before reporting to the company, or at the same time, because we need to know that the police are out there looking for whoever is looting your business or looting your house. You need to protect your property for the loss. Now, this happened last week when we had that big storm. If a big branch falls through your roof of your house, you don't have to leave the branch there. You can take the branch off and you cover the hole to protect any further loss. So if there's a rainstorm coming a day after the windstorm, you need to cover your roof or cover your windows or whatever is damaged to protect more water or rain or coming into your house and causing any further damage. You need to make any reasonable repairs to protect your property. Like I said, if there's a hole in the roof, you can go ahead and cover it up, or if you can repair it reasonably, you go ahead and do it, and the company will reimburse you for that. You separate the damage and undamaged personal property. During Sandy in New York, on the South Shore, we had a lot of flood damage, which means a lot of salt water would come into the basement, come into the first floor of the house. You don't need to leave that furniture or any kind of property in the house, especially salt water. It starts to get moldy, it starts to get smelly. You can take that stuff out of the house immediately. I recommend you don't, toss it in a dumpster and get rid of it without any kind of documentation. But you need to separate it, because the damaged stuff will cause more damage to the undamaged property. Prepare a detailed list of damaged or destroyed property. Like I said, you're not going to take the stuff and throw it out in a dumpster and get rid of it right away. But you can. Let's say the insurance company is so bogged down with so many claims, and you have your front yard full of garbage and full of stuff you don't want it there. You can make a list or document. You can take pictures and get rid of the stuff that just is causing more damage, or unsightly or smelly or whatever is destructive in your property. Get rid of it, but document. Make a list of what is there and take photos with it. You can save your receipts. You can save your records and the invoices. You can, to help the company adjust the loss. If you have to get a roofer to patch up a roof or cover the roof with a tarp, it's going to cost some money. You can go ahead and do that. Just keep the receipts, keep photos, keep records, and the company will reimburse you for it. Now, let's say that you need to get out of your house because you don't have power, or the half of your house is missing, which I had a customer, which a corner of his house was completely missing after a tree fell on it. You need to leave your house. You can't stay there safely. You go to a hotel, you rent an apartment nearby. Any increase of costs while you're outside your house will be covered by the company. Keep receipts of it, and you'll be reimbursed for it. Now, what the company pays, any temporary repairs, like I said, you need a tarp over the roof. You need to patch up a hole in the roof, patch a hole in the wall or windows. A lot of these repairs can be reimbursed between $5,000 or $10,000. So it doesn't mean that you can't do any repairs at all. Just make sure you document it. Take a picture of what's damaged. Get somebody to repair it for you, and save the receipt, save invoices. And when the company comes out to take a look at your house, you give them that, and they'll reimburse you for it, or put it into their claim and get you money for it later. Like I said, any kind of increased cost of living. If your house is unsafe to live because of the damage, or maybe the government says, listen, you gotta vacate the area because it's dangerous, and it costs you extra expense to get out of your house while this is happening. A lot of companies will provide 2 to 4 weeks of additional living expense to stay outside your house. I know that when we have big hurricanes coming to Long Island and you need to evacuate the South Shore, you might go to a North Shore hotel, or a hotel in the middle of the island where it's safer. Those expenses could be reimbursed to you by the insurance company as long as you document it. Debris removal from a loss that we covered. So you had a big loss, like I said before. We had Sandy in New York. The first floor of your house was inundated with salt water, and you had to get all that stuff out. You put it on your lawn, and you have to get a cart, commercial carter to take it away. They'll take that away. During the repairs to your house also, let's say you need to repair a side of your house or the roof, the construction or the remediation company may need to take a lot of that stuff out and dispose of it properly. Those things will be covered by the loss. Any kind of emergency removal of property to protect it. Now, this is funny. Let's say, with my example before, where you take your car down on the beach before a hurricane. Now you're thinking of totally opposite. So you have a few cars on your property, or you have some very important property that you want to miss, you want to lose, you don't want to get damaged, and you take it to someplace safe for storage, while this hurricane passes. If you have to pay for a storage unit, if you have to pay for something separately to protect your property, rent a garage for your cars, rent a storage unit for your personal property is valuable. If you have those costs related to the storm coming or the impending loss, you can get those things covered. Remember, all documentation. So if you have some prized possessions or some trophies or some records that you need to get out of your house before it's damaged, and you take to a storage unit, provide the receipt, and we'll reimburse you for that. It's better for the company because they save money on replacing those items, but also it's your personal property. Those things, money can't replace everything. Things have intrinsic value that you're not going to recover. So it makes sense to move it out of the way. Believe it or not, some areas have fire departments that will charge you to come to your house. I don't know if they'll charge you during an emergency, but if they get called to your house for some kind of damage, they may send you a bill in the mail. If they do, the homeowner policies will usually reimburse that between $500 and $2,000. I don't think in our area here on Long Island they do it, but there are a lot of areas that do, and you don't expect it. But when you get that bill, you don't have to cry over it. Just present it to the insurance company, and they'll pay for it. And like I said, it's built to the insurance company wants to protect from any losses. They don't want to pay out more money than they have to, and also you don't want any more damage than you want to on your property. We do pay for trees, shrubs, plants, and lawns. Usually it's a percentage of the property, not 100%. Some trees are going to be thousands of dollars. There will be a limit per item on these things. But when you have a storm and it knocks down 5 trees on your front lawn, and you want those trees back, you want to replace some of those trees, we'll pay you to get new trees to put them in. And your shrubs also, if they get damaged, or plants on lawns. This is a big one. Any kind of mold, fungus, wet, dry remediation. Now, this I mentioned before. If you have damage to your property, to your house, the first floor is flooded with salt water. You get the damaged property out of your house and throw it on the front lawn. The wet water will seep into the walls and seep into the floor, and mold and fungus will start building immediately. So if this happens to you, you get somebody, you try to get an emergency company to come in and dry out your house, get rid of the mold, get rid of the fungus, and we will pay for that remediation. Like I said, you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect your property. You're also trying to protect the company from any further loss. So if you take these steps to get your house cleaned up and safe, the companies want to reimburse you for it because they like that. They want that. They want you to protect yourself and protect the company. With mold, as we've heard before from other presenters, it's very dangerous. So you may not see it, but it's there, and you don't want it in your house. This is a very simple one. Lost the contents of freezer due to power interruption. This is the hard one because even in a minor storm, anything light, even a thunderstorm, you may lose power. You may have a transformer that explodes. And the first thing to go is going to be your food in your refrigerator. If it goes bad, all the companies will do some kind of contents reimbursement. Usually it's about $500. It could be $1,000. It could be $1,500. That's the one thing that we know everybody suffers from is the contents in your freezer start going bad right away. Power usually doesn't hurt anything else except that you may have a power surge when the power comes back on. If the power surge damages your TV, your computer, refrigerator, those things are covered also because it's part of the loss. It's part of the, whatever is happening in the weather. Now, this is important. Whenever I have any kind of loss come through, any kind of storm come through, people ask me for questions that, what they cover and what they don't pay for. This is pretty important because you don't want to be surprised when you think something covered and something is not. Any damage to automobiles or boats, any kind of damage to your car has to be put through your car policy and your boat policy. There are some policies that will cover small non-powered boats. So if you have canoes, if you have kayaks, if you have a rowboat on your property and it gets damaged or even blown away by the wind, those things may be covered under the homeowner policy, but a powerboat will not be covered. This is also important for liability. If your tree falls on a neighbor's car, the neighbor's car is not going to be covered through your homeowner policy, even though the tree was on your property. It's nothing that you had control over. It's an act of God. So the neighbor may be upset about his car, but your homeowner policy is not going to cover it. If he didn't have collision or comprehensive on his car, he may be out of luck with that. This is what I said, any kind of automobiles or boats belonging to someone else, the neighbor. Any damage to your neighbor's house. And this is also a very big question that gets asked the day after a storm. You have a very tall tree in your yard. Here on Nassau County, Long Island, our yards are not that big. So a tall tree almost inevitably ends up falling from your yard into your neighbor's property, sometimes on your neighbor's house. The damage to your neighbor's house has to be covered by his homeowner policy, not your policy. Even though it was your tree, like I just said before, you had no control over your tree falling, anywhere, and certainly not on his house. So your policy will cover to cut the tree out, take it away, but it's not going to cover your neighbor's house or his shed or his fence, even an above ground pool I had a tree fall on. Those things aren't covered. They're covered under the owner's homeowner policy, not yours. Tree removal from your neighbor's property. Now, this is a funny one because literally your homeowner policy will pay to remove your tree up to your property line. So whatever part of the tree is on your neighbor's property really isn't covered. Fortunately, a lot of companies will just extend to have the whole tree taken away. But if you have, 80% of the trees on neighbor's property, the company doesn't have to pay for it. The neighbor's homeowner policy, again, pays for it. But like I said, a lot of times the tree service is there, they're taking the tree away. Most likely the company will pay for the full bill and get it out of the way. Any damage to your neighbor's trees or bushes, shrubs or bushes, I'm sorry. I said a tree falls on your neighbor's yard and damages his trees, his shrubs, his bushes, not going to be paid by your insurance company. They'll take the tree away, but the damaged shrubs is going to be your neighbor's responsibility. Any questions? This I know is going to be a lot because I get a lot of questions every day after, so I imagine you have a lot of questions also.